What's new, gamers? It's Chris from ZombehGamers here, and I am bringing you another review. Thought I'd do another one of a game that I'm absolutely loving at the moment. I don't normally get into a huge array of handheld games. I prefer console games just because of, I don't know, I like the controller. So, but as you saw with my Persona 4 video, I like that a lot, and I rave on and on about Pokemon a little bit in that video as well. So I picked up, it's like, came out a little while ago in Australia, but Fire Emblem Awakening, which is what this review is going to be about. Because this game is one of the best, well, it's probably like one of the only strategy style games I've played, with the whole moving the position of your people around like a tactician, next to Final Fantasy Tactics, which I don't know if that was the first sort of game like that in the series, but it was the first one I played like that in the series. And I've only really played two, that and this, and while you can't really compare the two because one was on Game Boy Advance and one's obviously on Nintendo 3DS, but this game is amazing. It ranks higher in my books than Persona 4 did easily. Coming from sort of the same, not the same gameplay style, but the same sort of aspect with the whole anime style cutscenes and everything, which is really cool. There aren't as many, I would say, in this. I think there's probably about 12, 13 minutes of anime cutscene in Fire Emblem. I have no idea how much there was in Persona. But I didn't trade him. I sold my PS Vita, mainly because while Persona 4 Golden was a great game, I never actually got into any other PS Vita titles, which isn't to say that they're actually any bad titles, but just none that I personally enjoyed. So I picked up a 3DS. It's red. It's awesome. And I got it with Fire Emblem Awakening. So I got it on the same day that Fire Emblem Awakening came out. And it's well justifiable, in the same sense Persona 4 Golden was, the purchase of a Nintendo 3DS. And I'll go into the details about that throughout the video, obviously, because it's a review. So, yeah, I suppose I'll start off. I don't try to sort of structure these, which probably isn't a very good idea in the end, but it sort of gives me the momentum to move from different things and not keep things aside and then forget them. So I suppose I'll start off with the characters. You go through the game as your own avatar, which is what they call the main character, because essentially you name him and even or her, and create them in various ways, even in the start of the game, which is really cool. So you get to choose. There aren't heaps of variety, which I completely understand, because I don't know very many games like this where you're actually able to choose what your character looks like and stuff. But there's about 5 settings, I think, in like hair, voice, facial looks and stuff like that. But you can there's that level of customization, so your character looks a little bit more like how you want them to look, which is really cool. Which is, you know, kind of bad how you want them to look, but yeah, so there's that starting off the game. So your own character, he's pretty cool. It's not a character without a voice, which is really good. I think the game would fall short if your character didn't have a voice. It can't sort of come from that level that Persona 4 Golden did, but you do, which is really cool. So the game is set out as I said, there's about 11-ish plus minutes of cutscenes throughout the game, and then the rest of the game is portrayed through in-game cutscenes. So like using the in-game style graphics to portray cutscenes, portray talking scenes and stuff like that. It's understandable. I'll put some gameplay alongside the review, like I always do, but you'll understand what I mean when you see it. So the in-game cutscenes, while they don't amount to the anime cutscenes at all, obviously, but they are still really well done, especially for the 3DS. I wasn't expecting the graphics at all, actually. I saw different things on the game, and I hadn't actually realized, I'd never played a Fire Emblem game before, so I didn't actually realize that once you get into battles, that's the kind of cutscene, or the kind of style graphics that come up. I thought it was all just the little sprite animation, which I was perfectly fine with when I was buying it. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I've seen the cutscenes and the sort of like justify buying the game. And even without those in-game things, I think the game still would have been justifiable, as I sort of bought it upon the premise of thinking that. I still think that would have been absolutely alright for it to stick with, but it didn't, which is really cool. So when you interact with another character, so whether it be an enemy or you're healing a friend or something, or even there's a dancer class which is essentially the attack for that. Well, they have weapons as well, but their ability is you can make the other person, you dance for the other person, and they can take a second turn, which is really cool. Each time you interact with your own characters as well, it'll come up with a little thing, but those are the only exceptions, I think. It's just healing and dancing. But yeah, so those just popped up for me because I had no idea. But that is really cool, the fact that they put those the graphic style in with the gameplay in that aspect. So obviously I've jumped from characters to gameplay just a little bit, but the character. So your character is pretty cool. Oh, he or she's pretty cool. Go through it's a character you can bond with, which is really really good. It's not a weak attempt at making a character that can talk, and that's your character. So you go through the game as them. The cool thing is, one of the other main characters, Crumb. No spoilers. He's a central character, so he's probably more of a main character than you are in the story. And there'll be a lot of fights where you can't unselect him. So you can select a certain number of players for each battle. And there'll be a lot of battles where you cannot unselect him, where you can unselect others and choose other ones. Because he's central to stuff that can happen throughout that fight and whatnot. But your own avatar, I think nearly every single fight you can unselect him. So if you didn't want to use him pretty much at all throughout the game, you don't have to. But I would suggest using your character because he is also fairly central to the story, obviously. Yeah, so there's Crom, who's another central character, and there's a few other characters, and each one that I met, even all of like the small characters that you meet along the way, that are all, even some that aren't, they don't have to be in the story. I'll explain that. Well, I can explain it now. There's characters that you can choose to team up with during a fight if you use Crom to talk to them. So they'll join your team and you'll be able to use them in later fights and stuff like that. As long as they don't die during that battle, I'm pretty sure it is. So yeah, even minor characters like that are really well done. I mean, you can bond with... I think my favourite character in the whole game was a guy called Gaius. If you play the game, you might see him or might not. I'll try and put up some gameplay images of him. And he's got this personality that just made him sort of my character I tried to train up the most and stuff like that. And he wasn't central to the storyline at all. Like, you could just choose him to have him join your fight, whether you wanted to, or you didn't have to at all if you didn't want to. So I thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, each and every one of the characters are amazingly done, easy to bond with, and there are so many emotional scenes in the game that I was not expecting. I mean, I picked up the game with 3DS. I'm like, all right, I've got the 3DS. I've got this new game. I secretly really bought it for the upcoming Pokemon game that's coming out, X and Y. I'm getting... Oh, I can't remember which one it is. I always forget. I'm pretty sure it's X. But then it's the one with like the Stantler type. You know, Stantler. The Stantler type legendary. I think it's X. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I picked it up because I'm going to be getting that later on in the year. But this was just a plus because it was out at the time. And this game is so much more emotionally in-depth than I thought it would be. I mean, there are points in the game where I cried. And I do that a lot at animes just because I think that they can create something that's even more human than a lot of people in the world. And it's because they're trying to really base a character to become real and sort of bring them to life. And a lot of the animes I watch, they do a really good job at that, and then they go and make really devastating scenes. And this game has its share of really happy scenes, really sad scenes, which both of which can sort of make you go, you know, no, or yeah, which is it's fantastic in my book. I judge most animes based on the emotional level they can trigger with me, because that's really what they're going for on the internet, I think, anyway. But yeah, so the characters are superbly done. Storyline. At first, I was like, yeah, it's sort of typical-ish. Kind of, not really. I'll give you the start of the game. No spoilers. You wake up in the middle of a field, completely wiped of memory. You join Crom and his teammates and stuff, who become your teammates in turn, and then you go and meet more characters like I was talking about before. And it's sort of really cliche. you've lost your memories and everything like that, and the storyline progresses on further on down the track, keeping within the realm sort of the start of the game, with you losing your memories and stuff like that. But speaking of, well, in saying that, the storyline is so good. There's a lot of points in the story where I was like, what? I didn't see that coming at all. And they do that a lot. So yeah, the story is really well crafted. I think it might have been, even though the story is as good as it is, I think it sort of might have been a whole I doubted it from the very beginning thing, so automatically got better. But it is really good, and I mean, you get to the point, I think I got about a quarter of the way in, where I was like, yeah, I need to finish this game as fast as possible, because when I say as fast as possible, I mean I want to know what happens, but I didn't rush the game itself, which I implore everybody to sort of take their time with the game, because it sort of gives its own benefits in its own ways by taking time with the game. So, but yeah, the storyline is really, really good. It starts off a bit cliche, but trust me, just if you stick with it, it's really good. I can't really say anything without spoiling anything. But I'll just say this: it's a game that's worth finishing and watching after the credits. There are some choices. This isn't a spoiler. Some choices in the game that reflect back at the very end of the game, so like a multiple ending sort of thing, based on certain choices you made in the game. And if you chose the same ending that I did, chose the same sort of path that I did, you're gonna want to watch past the credits, because it's just really cool. I still get excited. The ending was so well done, in a way that I thought it wasn't, and then it was, and I was like, yes, this is what I want in a game. I don't want them to do the other stuff. I want them to do this. It's sort of like Bioshock Infinite's ending, not in the same sense that it was just like whoa, it mind busted, whatever. Totally blew my mind. But it's in the same sense that I loved the ending to it. So it really did the story justice with the ending it did. And that's all I'm going to say, because I honestly don't want to spoil anything for it. But yeah, characters are superb. You'll fall in love with them pretty much almost immediately. I wouldn't doubt it all. Storyline is fantastic. It's got a bit of a rocky start, so sort of overlook that. Like, I mean, the start of it, like the start opening cutscene, is awesome. I mean, all the anime cutscenes are so well done. I'll go onto that under graphics in a minute. But the sort of the whole starting basis of the game, so sort of like that's sort of it's sort of kind of unrealistic. If you can't really say that in a video game, but you'll understand what I mean. But yeah, the rest of the storyline is fantastic. And it might seem like I'm hating on the start of the storyline a lot, and I'm trying not to. I'm just saying that's if you think that it's sort of from the start of the game, you shouldn't worry about that at all. Just keep on going straight through it, because it's awesome. It's worth it. So storyline, characters, and graphics. Even the sprite animation, well, from the anime cutscenes to the in-game cutscenes, all the way down to the sprite animation, everything is really well done. The characters are polished. I didn't sense that there's no graphical hiccups at all. There was no glitches, no bugs or anything, which was really cool. There was a time, that's got nothing to do with graphics, but there was a time when I thought that the game, there's a DLC that comes out for the game every now and then, which is really cool. But the DLC thing was shut, and I think it was because it was receiving new DLC, but I was like, what? I can't buy anything, that sucks. But that was obviously because of updating it. But graphic-wise, the game is amazing. The sprite animations obviously are a little bit less on the graphic side, because, you it's like the whole Battlefield sort of thing. But when you go into a battle, there's 3 camera views. There's the auto camera view, which sort of like pans in and out. It's like you go into attack and it'll sort of follow you and flip around to the person if they've died or whatever. Then there's the basic camera view where you're looking at one person here and one person here, and you're sort of on looking at the battle, and it's like a fighting game would be. And then there's the first person mode. I mean, this is a strategy whatever game, I can't remember what they call it, but and there's first person fighting in it. I thought that was so cool. I'd never actually use the first person camera that much because it's sort of the auto camera is what I stayed at, but it was just really, really cool. I mean, you could go first person in like a strategy game. I just thought it was really cool. And then you can speed up the fighting animations, or you can skip it out altogether by hitting like select or something. I think it was select, yeah. Or you can pause it so you can like stop and be like, oh, my character's gonna die. No. And then play it, fast forward it, whatever. And I think you can skip the fighting if you just want the whole tactical style of it. You can actually go into the settings and take out the fighting, and as much it does become kind of a hindrance later on when you're in like a super boss field battle or whatever. Not boss field battle, like super high level enemy battle, and then you're like sending this person out here and sending this person out here, and that person has to attack, and maybe that person can attack again because they have an ability to do that, and you sort of like, this is cool, but I just want to sort of get it over and done with. You can just toggle it on and off for a couple of fights if you want to, and then sort of like, once you sort of gotten tired of not having it there, put it back on, or vice versa. So I think it's cool they added that. But they give the players a choice whether they actually want that or not. And I think there's a lot of people who actually won't want it because it's sort of that genre where most of the tactical things that I've seen don't have the whole stopping and having the two characters fight. And while I think that's awesome because I don't usually play strategy games and I'm used to stuff like that, it's just a bonus for me. So so yeah, the graphics are fantastic, from the cutscenes down to the in-game cutscenes, down to the sprites, down to even the world. The actual world map is really cool. The terrain, like the world and everything, is really, really nice. A lot better graphics than I expected on the 3DS, and I think that I underestimated the graphic capabilities of the 3DS a little too much coming into it. I was like, yeah, the games will be fun, but the graphics won't be, that great. And I actually have to say I prefer the 3DS over the PS Vita. Not because of the actual 3D, that kind of... I'm not sure how I feel about the whole 3D screen thing. It has its points where it's awesome, but at the same time it's like, do I really need to play with it and stuff like that? But that's the 3DS itself. But on a whole, I do enjoy the 3D for the 3DS. But as a system, I feel that the 3DS just... I don't know, the PS Vita hasn't had that great of a start, I guess, coming out with the games it has. So I'm just glad that the 3DS has the lineup it's coming out with and the games it has at the moment, I guess. So yeah. But yeah, so the graphics are really well done all around. Even the menus are really cool. I'll just throw that out there. The music, I won't add that as a whole thing, but the music is really cool. I mean, you can select different tracks you want to play during different fights and stuff, and I think you unlock a track for finishing the game, I think. Yes. Yeah, you do. But yeah, the music's really well done. I mean, it sets the tone whatever you're doing, whether it's a fight or a really dramatic cutscene, which is cool. Graphic, story, characters, music. The controls, I couldn't find anything at fault with them. I mean, you don't really use the thumbstick unless you're in the world map. Then I used it a little bit there. But if you're moving your allies and stuff around in combat, you'll be using the D-pad, which is understandable. I wouldn't expect a game that has straight lines and stuff to use the D-pad that well. But it was nice to play a game that doesn't rely completely on going to sticks and stuff. So controls are fantastic, really responsive. I would have well, obviously it sort of deters away from the whole style of the game, which I'll get into now, which is there's two modes when you start off with. There's the newbie mode, which I went with, and then the classic mode, which the only thing that separates the two is the fact that if your unit dies in battle in the classic mode, it dies in battle. I mean, it's not coming back. So you want to be really careful when doing that. As opposed to the newbie mode, where if your character dies in battle, they're gone for the battle, but after that, they're back. So I went for that, considering I've never played a Fire Emblem game before, and I was like, yeah, pretty sure all my characters are gonna die at one stage, and they did. A lot of them did. I can't think of one character that didn't die at one time or another, so when I play through on the next playthrough, it'll be a little bit more cautious, because I'll go the classic mode. But, the thing I was talking about with that is that if you say your character dies, your main character, right? Not your main character, but like a main character that's like the heavy hitter of the team. If they die, you're like, yeah, I'm screwed in this battle without the character. I need to go back and restart it. You have to literally get out of the game. So hit the home menu, get out of the game, close the whole game off. So close the system processing game off, reopen the game, get back into your save file, and play from there. So I understand that completely because it will be abused pretty much if somebody's playing Classic. So say like your character dies, you're like, yep, restart. Yep, restart. Yep, restart. But it would have been nice to put it in the newbie mode because honestly most of the people are going to be like, yeah, my character died. There's no penalty, but it'll still sucks either way. I'd like to go back. So there's no real penalty in the newbie mode for the character dying anyway. So it would have been cool if they had like a restart button in that. But I can understand why they didn't. So it was just an issue because I homed and quit it out of the application a lot of times. On top of that, I played on the normal difficulty setting. I haven't tried any of the other ones. But it's still pretty challenging. I mean, I have no idea how easy it is, and I have no idea how hard it is. I don't want to know how hard it is. But yeah, normal is really, really challenging. At least it was for me. I mean, I had characters, as I said, dying before and having to restart it and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see something that was that challenging at like a medium style level. So it wasn't too hard, but it wasn't necessarily too easy. Though the main missions themselves were pretty relaxed. Each character has like a rating system based on like all the stats and levels and stuff. And I think it got to the point where at the very end of the game, the rating system for the people in the main storyline were like 120, and I think my lowest character was 120. So it got to the point where I was like, yeah, this is easy. But the when you go to recruit, there's points where you can like download over the Wi-Fi, not DLC wise, but they add like bonus teams and stuff from the old Fire Emblem games, so you can get characters from that and join your team. And a lot of those characters are really strong, and it shows because their whole team is the same level as them. So you have a choice of recruiting them for a ridiculous amount of money, fighting them, and if you win, you get the character. Or no, I think that's it. Or you can buy something from the shop actually from them, and they'll disappear. And you don't need to worry if you fight them and you lose, or you buy something from them and they disappear, because you can recall the team back out, which is pretty cool. You can't have more than one person of the same name, obviously, or the same type, same person, in your group, obviously, because otherwise that would be just like ridiculous. There's this one guy, and he's an assassin. His name is, I won't spoil it in case you've seen the other. It's not a spoiler, but I won't say it anyway. And he's an assassin, and he can attack twice. He was the only guy I had that could do that. Oh my god, and he was my strongest character. So we go, attack. Oh, he could attack twice if he killed somebody. So he would one-hit somebody, and then be able to run off and one-hit someone else. It was ridiculous. So, but with that and the side missions, those were the difficult parts of the game. I mean, you couldn't really fight them unless you grinded for a long time. The side missions you could, the bonus teams not so much. But they're a fantastic use of XP. Or in the I'll speak a little bit about the gameplay. In the system you can pair people up with each other. So you can pair two units up on the one spot and they'll move around. And while you might think that having one less person sucks, it like doubles the attack of the person, and they can both like, you can go and attack the one guy, and then the guy next to him might be like, oh, you need help, and then attack the other guy, and then they're dead, and you're like, yes, I haven't taken any damage, and they're dead. And that is how, there's like a marriage system in the game as well. So by pairing up two people, or by having them fight alongside, they grow like interest in each other. They grow sort of like compatibility. And they're more likely to fall in love with each other and stuff like that. So, but only if they're compatible with each other. And if not, a guy and a girl, two guys or two girls can pair up, and they'll just grow stronger by pairing up with each other in battle. So they'll grow different tiers with each other. And if you pair those two people up with a higher tier, then they'll be able to be stronger in battle, which is cool. So you have those like people going out, whooshah, and then like if that person dies that they're paired up with, the person will just split off from that, and they'll be still alive at full health. You'd be like, wow, and pair that person up with someone else, and like, whooshah, and then have the people who've had people die join up, and then attack, which is really cool. So I don't remember what I was going with that, but yeah, there's a marriage system in game with that, and God, I've lost my train of thought. But yeah, so that gives you the ability to. I think I was talking about grinding, wasn't I? I think yeah. So sort of. Oh yeah, that's another great thing about the wireless teams. You can keep calling them back, even the lower level ones, and have those people paired up so they can go better together as a team, obviously, or as a couple if you want those two people to be paired up, and then they can fight and rah 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 rah. So that's really cool. Like I mean, it sort of gives that way to sort of grind off of enemies, you know, their weaknesses and stuff like that. And there is weaknesses like people are impervious to maybe swords, but then they'll be screwed over by lances or bows or something. All flying mounts get wrecked by bows. As a tip, if you have a flying mount in the game, you don't want to put it anywhere too far out in the battlefield, because a guy with a bow will come out and be like, you got a flying mount and I'm going to shoot you with a bow and you'll die instantly. It's ridiculous. I mean, even low-level archers against flying mounts will completely destroy them. But yeah, I found that cool that there's sort of the weaknesses and bonuses and stuff like that. But yeah, gameplay-wise, or actually to finish it off, I've sort of spoken about gameplay. Replayability, value of money, I'd call it probably, that you get out of the game. For a 3DS game, I was like, well, Pokemon's like, what? When you're first playing a Pokemon game, it's what, like 20 hours? Roughly. I think my first Pokemon game, I spent 3 hours trying to get out of the beginning house. Because I didn't realize, I'd only just started, I was a kid, right? And I got a Game Boy, I'm like, yeah! I got the limited edition Pikachu and Pichu Game Boy Color, and I'm like, yeah, so I can play Pokemon. Everybody's talking about it. There's a TV show out for it. It's amazing. It was like the best TV show on when you were a kid, next to like Yu-Gi-Oh or something, or Dragon Ball Z. And then you get like the Game Boy Color, and you're like, yes, Pokemon. And how is a 10-year-old kid supposed to know that you walk? No, I think I was younger than that, like 7. That you walk down on the doormat to get out of a house. This was like the first proper video game I've ever played, and I'm like, next to Tetris, or like, I think I played Doom before I played Pokemon. That's pretty bad. It was like, I saw it on floppy disks, and it was like 8 floppy disks or something to play Doom. It was like floppy disk 1, 2, 3, I think it was like 10 megabytes in each. But you walk down on the doormat, which is obvious now. I mean, everyone would be like, that's stupid. But I was like, younger than 10. Think about it. If you've never played a Pokemon game ever before, there's no actual doorway there. The whole thing is black. So I'm coming down on Pokemon Silver. I'm like, yep, coming down the stairs. I talked to my mom. That's cool. Walk around for a little bit. This is retarded that I can't get out of the house. Is there someone else I have to talk to? I'll go back up to my bedroom. Play around the video. No, you can't play on the video game console. Turn on the PC. No, there's nothing in the PC of value. I think there's like a potion or something in there. Come back downstairs, talk to mom again. No, go back upstairs. I literally got so upset. I think it was 3 hours before I realized you have to walk down on the doormat to get out of each house. It's ridiculous. I'd never been in or out of a house in the game, so I had no idea. So, I think Pokemon Silver for me as a kid, on top of the fact that it was like my first properish game, on top of the fact that I took three hours to get out of the house, I think it took me like 50 hours, 40 hours to beat the game. And that's with the Kanto region as well. Kanto. But I think an average game for us, Pokemon game, would be like, 15 hours, 20 hours. This game, I got, not doing every single one of the side missions and not pairing up each character to the fullest that I could have and that I wanted to. I got 28 hours out of it, which is really good. I mean, $70, really good value. I mean, most Xbox games you buy these days are like, 10 hours, and like Bioshock Infinite was 15 hours, and it was worth every single dollar I put into it. But it just proves that handheld games can give you that little bit more value for money, and it's not like it was drawing it out at all. There was always like an in-game cutscene at some point during a battle, or at the end of a battle, or at the start of a battle, or something like that. So yeah, it's not like they tried to draw the game out. I think I literally played it for a short amount. I could have played it for a lot longer. Then again, I could have played it for a bit shorter. I reckon 24 hours is probably the shortest you get out of it. But that's still pretty good. And that was on normal and on the newbie mode. So that was without losing people and stuff. So I definitely give it good value for money for that. And then replayability, there's more modes. You'll pair different people up with different people. Though I will never, you won't know the characters, but my character, who was named Babu after the cat from South Korea, and Lissa, that's who I paired up. I wouldn't change that if I redid it, I don't think. So there's a couple of characters as you know you become attached to. So if you play the game, you'll understand that, I'm sure. But yeah, the replayability is huge. I mean, three different difficulty settings, 2 different modes, the classic and the newbie mode, and you have the choice to play it with English or Japanese audio. Either way, there's subtitles, so you'll understand what's going on. So, I haven't played it through on the Japanese audio yet, but the English audio is really well done. I don't know how, it's probably better in the Japanese version, it always is. But the English audio is amazingly done. But yeah, I would say it was well worth the money I spent on it, and well worth getting a 3DS for. Definitely. Even with Pokemon. But that's all for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, like and a subscribe would be awesome. I do more reviews on different games depending on how much I like them. If I do give a game a review, it means I liked it a lot. I liked it enough to do a review for it. But yeah, if you guys want any other games reviewed, or you want me to check out any other games and put up gameplay and stuff, just let me know. We should have new member videos coming out sooner or later. So keep an eye out for those. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I would suggest if you have a 3DS, definitely picking this one up, because it is probably a console seller for me, considering 3DS is a console. And I've seen people who said that it's not. I'm like, it's a handheld console. It's a console. I'll see you guys later, and yeah. I should really come out with a sign out, like you know, bye-bye, or have a good time. But I don't have one, so, I got it, ready? See you guys later. I'm off to be the best that ever was.
This is Constantine, John Constantine, and I'm here on behalf of my friends at ZombehGamers to tell you to subscribe to their channel and like this video. You do that, and I'll keep sending these filthy half-breeds back to hell. We'll both do our parts to keep the balance, because sure as hell, no one else will.